Do you have a sense of his habits as an artist?
Thank you for asking, because of course I think in the West and we have the image of the artist who's a drinker and spend his evenings. Is that what you were
Well,
thinking?
just what was his artistic process?
He was very, very pedantic, methodical about his work, almost a workaholic. I think every day started the same way. He had a tiny breakfast with his family. They lived in a communal apartment in the center of Leningrad, sharing with 22 families. And they were, because he was not conforming to requirements of socialist realism, they were of course quite poor. And so they had tiny breakfast, maybe one egg shared by the three of them, my grandmother and my mother. And then he would leave for his studio and he would work all day. And that was his days. And in the evenings, his wife, Lucy, and he would go to either a museum or a concert or a library. Leningrad has a wonderful library with very good reproductions of works of art, so he was always looking at other artists. They were always at the exhibition openings, and that was just part of his work. And then as far as his work process, it was also very rigorous. His paintings have sometimes quality of being very free, but it's actually was very rigorous process that was actually academic process. That he always began with the pencil sketches, and he worked scrupulously on developing an image. So what may appear as an random, symbols or images are actually had carefully worked and thought through in paper form. And then from pencil, sometimes they're tiny, small pencil sketches that could fit on a palm. He always carried a little notebook, and whenever he would see something, he would just make a light line drawing, and that would appear sometimes, or his ideas, and they would appear in his later oils. From pencil, he would move to either gouache or pastel or watercolor and work on color. Oh, in pencil drawings, he would always mark the colors. So he would always remember this is golden yellow, and this is ochre brown, and this is charred, so all these very specific things. So then from the small, he would translate to watercolors, and then maybe smaller oils, and some of them are actually charred, like old-fashioned way of transfer onto larger canvases, and then from there on he would work on a canvas. He would work on a canvas for a very long time. He would work on several paintings at the same time, and they would turn face to the wall, take a break from them, then put them back, step, always squinting and looking and working in many layers. And that's what gives the richness and texture of the work, that they have layers. Another technique that I think is wonderful, and it's a beautiful metaphor, which unfortunately is also tragic. His earlier works are darker and more realistic, and I think at some point as his style began to change, he was reevaluating his work, and the canvas was scarce, and he was not happy with some of these portraits that he painted, and he would just take the old canvas and paint right over. And the result is tragic because we lost some of the beautiful portraits. But I think it led a wonderful layer of meaning that some of his new work, his landscapes that are empty of people, actually have some of these people buried in the second layer. And he talked about painting being a multi-layer system, that behind one layer there is another and something else is hidden. And that's in his work.